A brand new live-action Transformers film came out a couple weeks ago, and we're going to discuss that film right now. Let's get into it. Welcome back to my channel. Hope you're all doing well out there. And yes, I am finally back from vacation. Yes, I know I dropped a review on Monday for Deep Impact, but that review was filmed several weeks ago. I kept it just for when I got back from vacation because I had no other reviews ready. And the movie we're going to discuss today, I saw it right before I went on vacation. I wanted to have that review out before I went, but I never got a chance to. So we're going to discuss that movie right now. But before we do that, one other thing. Join me back here Friday night for Horror Talk Live at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time as we go to summer camp, baby. We're going to discuss the original 1980 Friday the 13th. So join me back here at 8 o'clock Friday night, and we're going to go to summer camp, baby. But today, we're going to talk about Transformers Rise of the Beast. Yes, we have a new live-action Transformers film. It dropped on June 9th of June, obviously. And this one's directed not by Michael Bay, just like Bumblebee was not directed by Michael Bay. This one was filmed by Stephen Cable Jr., and he directed Creed 2. Michael Bay was involved. He was a producer on this film, but this says Michael Bay did not direct this one. So in this film, we got Anthony Ramos plays Noah Diaz. He's an ex-soldier down in his luck, living with his mother and his brother in his apartment. We'll talk about him in a minute. Dominique Fishback plays Elena Wallace. She works at this museum as an assistant. We got Dean Scott Vasquez as Chris Diaz. He is Noah's brother, and he is ill, and they're having a hard time getting treatment for his illness because they have very little money. And the great Peter Cullen's back once again to voice Optimus Prime. And, you know, I don't know what your feelings are in the Michael Bay films. You can leave a comment down below how you feel about those films. There's definitely 2 films out of his 5 films that I really do enjoy. The first one and the third one. I think part 2 has some really cool action set pieces, but that movie's a dumpster fire narratively. Yeah, the story in part 2 is nonsensical. So is the story in part 4 is just too long. There's some cool action stuff there and some cool visuals, but the action just goes on and on and on. Bay never knew when to cut down on some of these films. There's no reason for one of these films to go 2 hours and 45 minutes like part 4 did. And part 5 has a lot of the same problems. The story is kind of dog shit, although I love them introducing Unicron, who's right there in that picture right there. But they really don't do nothing with it, and it's just a lot of gobbledygook, and the story's a whole mess. Again, some cool visuals, some cool action, but that movie's a dumpster fire as well. I really do like Bumblebee. I think that's probably definitely one of the better Transformers films. Now this one, basically, we get kind of Unicron's introduced here in planet form. And what they do smartly here is they keep the original design. Unicron very much looks like he did in the 86 cartoon movie, the animated film. And I really appreciate that. Yes, they updated it a little bit, but he looks very much like that design, which kicked ass all the way back in 86. And they set him up and the Terrorcons, which do his bidding for him. And they lose the MacGuffin of this movie. A piece, an artifact that allows him to travel through space bridges to get to other worlds to consume them. And once you know where it went, to Earth, baby, because we got to get Earth involved in humans. They still haven't learned that we could have a Transformers film without humans and it still kick ass, but they still want to inject humans into this goddamn thing. But we're introduced to Noah. He's down in his luck, ex-soldier, and he's trying to find a job to help his mom and his brother out. And pretty soon, he takes this, he has a hard time getting this one job, so he takes this illegal job with this guy he knows to steal this car out of this museum, which ends up being Mirage. And while he's there, the Terrorcons show up. No Decepticons are in this film. The Terrorcons show up, and they want this artifact. And he gets caught up with Elena, and now they're on the run with the Autobots. We're reintroduced to Optimus Prime. Optimus Prime and Bumblebee are pretty much the 2 holdovers from the original films. I mean, Mirage did show up in Bay's films, but he's different here. He looks like more of the Mirage from the cartoons, in car-wise and in design. The robot designs, Optimus definitely looks more like the first version of him, season 1 version of Optimus, and Mirage looks like that too. It's a little bit of a mix between the old animated cartoons and the Bay movies. So I appreciate that we get more of that Generation 1 look and aesthetic to the robots, because I always felt like Bay's aesthetic was always too much. And pretty much this movie is very simple. We're introduced to the Beasts, the Rise of the Beasts, and the Maximals and we're in Peru, and we get basically battle after battle, and Unicron's coming to destroy Earth, and the Autobots, along with Noah and Elena, beat the Terracons and Unicron. Unicron gets sucked out of the space portal and away from Earth, and we have a happy ending. Although they do say Unicron could come once again, which, if we get another film, I would love to see Unicron be the main bad guy. He is the main presence of bad here, but really it's the Terracons that do the most bad stuff. Unicron's there, the overlooming threat. We never get to see him transform into a robot, and me being a greedy bastard, I really wanted that. But the way they do show him is in planet form, he looks amazing. I was so happy with the design in that. The human story, Noah as a character, he's fine. He does get involved, and so does Elena, but Noah gets more to do, especially at the end. He ends up getting this suit off of Mirage, almost like Chip from the animated movie. If you remember that, with the white suit that he had, that he was able to go in space with the Autobots. Noah gets something similar, and he's able to get involved in the battle. Because if he didn't have that, the humans are useless once the robots start fighting. I mean, let's be honest. But as a character, Noah is a pretty good character. I love the interaction between him and his brother. Elaine is good here for what she's given to do. These characters really don't, besides their little bit of a plight they get, these characters really don't matter all that much in the grand scheme of things, besides their desire to help save Earth. What we're here for is robot on robot action and fights. And the effects are really well done. The shooting of it, Stephen Cable Jr. does a nice job with the film. The fights are well choreographed. I mean, they're all CGI, but they're all well laid out. You can tell what's going on. And he definitely lets the shots linger enough that you could see and get a sense of what's going on. And you could see all the action beats, which I appreciate, because the quick cutting stuff, what you got with some of the Bay films, sometimes it's just too much sensory overload. And the other smart thing they did here is they cut back on the human characters. Yes, we still get human characters, and I was complaining about that earlier, but there's a lot less here. And even the robots, there's a lot less robots. Yes, we get the Maximals and the Autobots that are here, but there's a lot less. Even with the Terracons, there's less of them. There's less going on here. And I think that was one of the problems, especially with the Bay movies as they went on with 4 and 5. There's just too much going on. Let's concentrate. Let's bring the story back to basics, and just let's have a kick-ass movie. And I think this movie does a lot right. Now, the Maximals, I am not overly familiar with. By the time I was there for Generation 1 Transformers, Season 1 of the cartoon up through the animated film in '86. That's my Transformers. Anything after that, the Maximals didn't come around till the 90s. I'm not familiar with them. But here, they're well done. They look great. I mean, they're not in a lot of the movie. They don't really show up till the second half of the movie. And they do help out in the battle, obviously, but Prime and Bumblebee and the Autobots still hold a large part. And I know Optimus, you can't have a Transformers without Optimus Prime. So I get it. But I think that was one of the smart things they did. Cut back on characters, cut back on robots. And it's a more concentrated threat. Again, we're after a MacGuffin like all these films. There's that one thing the Terracons really want, Unicron wants, and the Autobots are trying to keep it from them. So it's not much different in that respect. Other than, mostly this film hinges on, if you want to see robots beat the shit out of each other, it gives you that in spades, especially the last 30 minutes. And the movie knows when to get out. The movie rings in about 2 hours and 5 minutes, which is a far cry from the Michael Bay films that went on and on and on and on and on. This one knew when to get out. The story pretty much moves through progression, what little story there is, and then we're done. And I appreciate that as well, when to know to get off the pot and not just let it drag out. And then we get this thing at the end where they bring G.I. Joe in. Yes, this movie's been out for a few weeks. I'm wearing a G.I. Joe hat. G.I. Joe, the organization, shows up at the end of this film offering Noah a job. So I don't know if they're planning a crossover, a new G.I. Joe movie. I haven't heard anything. Supposedly they want to make 2 more Transformers movies. This movie's doing okay. We'll have to wait and see how much box office this movie cost $200 million, so it has to make quite a bit to make some money, so we'll see what happens. But I was happy with this film. I was entertained. Is it perfect? No. Again, even though the human characters are okay, do we really need them? I don't think so. But they insist on giving us human characters. They're okay here. It's not a perfect film, but it's a fun summer blockbuster that you can just shut your brain off, watch, have a good time, and move on with your day. So at the end of the day, I would give Transformers Rise of the Beast a 7.5 out of 10. 7.5 out of 10 for Transformers Rise of the Beast. Have you seen this one yet? Leave a comment down below. Let me know. Hit the thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button. Share this video. I greatly would appreciate that. I'll be back on Friday with Horror Talk Live. Join me here at 8 o'clock. But until then, bye.